Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So this is our third session related to Tableau. In case if you have missed the first two sessions, please go ahead and watch those videos before starting this class. So in a minute, we are going to start our session. Okay, so today we are going to discuss on the below topics. Show me how you can utilize this option to generate some graphs and what are the drawbacks of this option as well. How to generate a side-by-side bar graph using the show me option and how to generate a line graph as well. How you can use the dimensional fields to create both the representation that is continuous and discrete. What is the concept of date part and date value in Tableau and what are the different scopes available in Tableau. All right, so open the Tableau software and click this link, Microsoft Excel. We are going to connect our data. So for today's class, again, we are going to utilize the same data that is sample superstore. If in case if you do not have the data, please check my first session where we have downloaded this data. Okay, so double click this sample superstore and drag and drop this order in the middle. Okay, now go to the next worksheet. Okay, being the shift mode in columns and bring sum of profit and sales in rows. Okay, so now we are going to generate a simple side-by-side bar graph. Okay, so how to generate a side-by-side bar graph? So in the right hand side top, you are going to see an option, show me. Click the option show me and you are going to see the side-by-side bar graph. Okay, now if you see in the below, to generate a side-by-side bar graph, what is the requirement? We have requirement of one or more dimensional fields and we have a requirement of one or more measured fields. So if both the conditions we can able to satisfy, we can able to create a side-by-side bar graph using this show me option. Okay, now if you see here, we have utilized one dimensional field, that is shift mode, and here we have used two measure fields, profit and sales, right? Sales, right? So to generate a side-by-side bar graph, what is the requirement? We have a requirement of one or more dimensional fields, so that is already available in our graph, and one or more measure fields, so that is also available in our graph. Okay, so as both the conditions are satisfied, we can able to generate a side-by-side bar graph now by using the show me button. Okay, so click this side-by-side bar graph option. So this is our what? This is our side-by-side bar graph. Using the same option, we can also generate a stack bar. Okay, so this is stack bar. Now to generate a stack bar, what is the requirement? We have a requirement of one or more dimensional fields. We also have a requirement of one or more measure fields. So as both the conditions are satisfied, we can able to generate a stack bar here using this option. Okay, so click the icon stack bar, you are able to generate a stack bar. So this is the stack bar. Okay, so likewise you are also able to generate a horizontal bar. Okay, so this is your horizontal bar. You can also able to generate a tree maps. So tree maps. So again, if you see to generate a tree maps, what is the requirement? One or more dimensional fields, so that is already available. Okay, and one or two measure fields, so that is also available in our chart, in our graph. Okay, so that is why you can able to generate a tree maps as well. Now if you hover your mouse in the line graph, you can able to see that that is not clickable, right? You cannot able to generate a line graph, right? Now to generate a line graph, what is the basic requirement? The requirement is you should have one or more date fields available, right? Now if you see in our graph, we have utilized three fields: profit, sum of sales, and the shift mode. Neither of these fields are the date fields. So as the conditions are not satisfied, you are not able to generate a line graph by using this option. Okay. So you can say that is one of the drawback of the show me. Using show me, you can only able to generate those graphs which satisfy the conditions. Unless and until these conditions are getting satisfied, you cannot generate any graphs. Okay. So now go to the next worksheet and generate a line graph. Okay. Now before that, remember one thing. Line graph is important to communicate a pattern. Communicate a pattern. So for an example, if you communicate any sales pattern to your leadership team, so you can utilize this line graph. Okay. Second thing is that to generate a line graph, the data which you want to analyze, data which you want to analyze should be in the row. Okay. So now for an example, bring the order date in the columns and drag and drop the cells in the rows. So why we have dropped the cells in the rows? Because as I mentioned, the data which you want to analyze should be in the rows. So here the sales data we want to analyze, right, over a period of time. That is why we have placed the sum of cells in the rows and order date in the columns. Now see, this is one of the simplest line graph we have generated, right? Now you can able to see this small addition button, right, in the year order date. Now click this plus sign. Our graph has been segregated into what? Our graph has been divided or segregated into quarter plus year. Okay, so here quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Similarly, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, you are able to see for what? For 2014, 2015, 16 and 17, right? Again, if you drill down the quarter order date, it is going to segregate into month as well. Okay, so this is your month: February, March, August, September. So these are your months. Again, if you want to further drill down this, it will come as a day. Okay, so again we have drilled down our data into day, month, quarter and year. Okay, so this concept is called as a drill down. Okay, so this hierarchy has automatically created by the Tableau. You do not need to segregate it manually or something in your database. So in Tableau it will get automatically created. Okay, now again if you click this minus button in the year order date, it will drill up. Okay, so again that concept is called as a drill up concept in Tableau. Okay, now rename this sheet as a line graph and go to a new sheet. Okay, so in the new sheet, right click the order date and without releasing the right click, drag and drop it in the columns. Okay, you are going to get this option. So let me just redo it once again. Right click the order date and without releasing the right click, drag and drop the order date in the columns. Okay, so you are going to get this option. What are those options? One is order date continuous and another one is the order date discrete. Okay, so sales over a period of time. If we want to display sales over a period of time, what is the representation we need to utilize? So suppose period is T1, to Tn. Okay. So if you want to display the data over a period of time, what is the representation that we are going to utilize? We are going to utilize continuous representation. Right? We already discussed this in our previous two session. Okay. And when we are going to display data for every period of time, our representation will be what? Our representation will be discrete representation, correct? Correct. So when we need to display the data over a period of time, we can utilize these options. These are the continuous options. Okay, so we can select any one of these options to display the data over a period of time, and that will be in a continuous representation. Okay, if we want to display the data for every period of time, we need to use the discrete options. So what are the discrete options available? So these are the discrete options available. Okay, so above option we can utilize for discrete representation. These options we can utilize for continuous representation. Okay, so in our graph for today, we are going to utilize what? We are going to utilize this month order date continuous representation. Okay, so just go ahead and click this option and click on OK. Otherwise, you can just double click this month order date. Okay, so we have added the month order date now. Now drag and drop these cells in the rows. See, so we have generated a line graph now. Okay, now this November 2013, May 2014, from where it is coming up? It is coming up from the month order date. Okay, now if you see the month order date in, what is the color of the month order date? The color is green, right? So in our previous two sessions, we have discussed if the column is in green, Tableau will automatically generate what? Continuous representation, right? Continuous representation, right? That means it's an axis, correct? That we have discussed in our previous session. Okay. Now, if you notice, the order date is what? The order date is a dimensional fields, right? It's a dimensional field, right? Okay. So that means in Tableau, there is no hard and soul rule that you cannot utilize the dimensional field as a continuous representation. So the order date, which is a dimensional field, but here we have utilized the month order date as a continuous representation. Okay, so please remember that in Tableau there is no hard and soul rule that you need to utilize only the measure fields as a continuous representation. Rather than that, you can also utilize the dimensional field in a continuous representation as well. Okay, so if you want to change the continuous representation to discrete representation, what you need to do, you just click this small button. Okay, and select this discrete option. Okay, click this discrete option. So now the data is in discrete. Okay, how you are going to understand? Again, we spoke about it in our first two session. If the color is blue, that means it's in discrete representation by default. Okay, that means that is a header. Okay, so here if you see the month order date, we have changed from continuous to discrete, and that is why the color changed from green to blue. And so it is now a discrete representation and it is a header. Okay, so in Tableau, although the order date is a dimensional field, we can change the representation based on our requirement. we can utilize these dimensional fields as a continuous representation, otherwise as a discrete representation as well based on our requirement. Okay. Okay, now if you see in our graph, the month of August is coming up 4 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. So what is the difference between this August and this August? So if you see, this is for August 2014 and this is for August 2015. So that means there is a difference of year, right? So let's understand a concept. Okay. In the left hand side corner, if you see what is the data points coming up, the data points is coming up 48 marks. Okay. So how it is coming up? How it is coming up? 4 years. 4 years and 12 months each. That is why our data points are coming up as 48. Okay. Now, before going further, let's understand another concept. Okay. Now, if someone asks you that what is the hottest month in India during the summer time? Okay. So you are going to generate a graph based on month, March to June, right? March to June, right? So here, if you notice, we have only used month data and not year data, right? So here we have only taking the data from March to June. It can be from 2001 to 2010. It can be from 2020 to 2022. It can be anything. It is not dependent on the year, but yes, it is dependent on the month. So based on the months, we have generated this graph, right? So this type of graph, we call them as a generic chart. Okay, why? Because only month used and not month and year. Okay. In Tableau, we call them as a day part, as we have only used month. Okay. Now, if someone asks you that what is the COVID scenario in India during 2021, okay, so the requirement is very specific that during the year 2021, what is the scenario of COVID in India? Okay, so you are going to consider the time frame from Jan 21 to December 21, right? December 21. Okay, so in this graph, we have used both month plus year data, right? So this type of graph is called as a specific graph or chart, as we have used both month plus year date. In Tableau, we call them as a date value. Okay. Okay, so if you see, This is a generic chart where we have taken from Jan to December. Okay, so the graph is at month level now. And if you see this chart, this is a specific chart where we have taken from January 21 to December 21. As of now, we have taken only for 1 year. Okay, so here for generic chart, our data points will be 12, right? Because for 12 months, correct? Here also, the data points will be 12 because we have considered only for 1 year from Jan 21 to December 21. Now, if we increase the sample of the generic charts, if we increase the sample size to 5 years for generic chart and the graph, if graph remains at same month level, then TP will remain same, that is 12. Okay, but in the specific chart, if we increase the sample size from 1 year to 5 years, and if graph remains at month plus year level, then data points will increase from 12 to how much? 60. 12 into 5 years. Close to 60. Okay. So data points will increase from 12 to 60. Okay. Similarly, in Tableau, we have a similar concept. Okay. So if you come to our previous graph, so this is a specific chart because we are displaying the graph based on month as well as based on year, correct? And that is why the marks is coming as 48 marks, because 4 years into 12, that is why it is coming up 48. Okay. Now, if you just right click over here, you are going to see year, month, date, quarter. Here also you are going to see year, quarter, month, day here also. Okay. So this is the first one, year, quarter, month. This is nothing but this is a generic chart or a date part. Okay. Because if you see for the month, there is no year mentioned, right? But if you go down the below, year, quarter, month is very much specific. That is date value. Because against the month, it is mentioned as day 2015. Okay. So if we click this one, month, how many data points we are going to get? We are going to get only 12 data points. Okay. Because why? This is a generic chart or a in Tableau's concept, that will be a data part. Okay. So let's click this one. How many data points we are getting? We are getting 12 marks. Okay. Now, if we select the specific one, that is the data value as per Tableau, we need to select this one, May 2015 month. Okay, so if we select this one, how many data points we are going to get? We are going to get around 48 data points. Because why? 12 months into multiplied by 4 years. So how many data points or the marks we are getting? We are getting 48 marks. So I hope that now the concept of the generic chart, that is the data date part in Tableau, and the specific chart, that is the date value in Tableau, is clear. Rename the sheet as a date part, date value. Okay. Once done, just right click over it and duplicate the sheet. Use the option duplicate. Okay, so this time no circus, just drag the order date and drop it in the rows. Okay, so you're going to get this graph. Now, if you see for 2015, we have done a sale of around 75,000, right? But the axis is going above 100K, and that is why our line graph has been squeezed. Means although there are changes in the sales volume, but seeing the graph is very difficult to understand, right? Correct. So 2014, this is our axis or this is our header? This is our header, right? Because 2014 are coming from where? 2014 are coming from year order date. Okay. So what is the color of the year order date? The color is blue. That means blue, it will automatically be header in Tableau, right? January. From where these details are coming up? January, February, March. These details are coming up from month order date, right? So again, as the month order date are in blue, that means that are header, okay, not axis. So what is the only axis available? Only axis is sales, right? Because this is coming up from the sub sales, which is in green color. That means these are only the axis. Okay. Now select the sales axis and right click over it. Select the edit axis. Okay. So here you are going to see these options. Okay. So we are going to select independent axis ranges for each row and column. Just check the graph. You are going to see some changes. Okay. Once we select this option. See, now it has changed. Second, as it is a line graph, it is always not mandatory to include the zero. Okay, so you can also uncheck this option. Again, you are going to see some changes in the graph. Okay, once done, just close this thing and rename the sheet as edit axis. So in this graph, we can do a lot of enhancement, right? But before going to that enhancement, let's understand a separate concept. Okay. So drag and drop category in the columns, region in the columns, and sum of cells in the rows. Okay. So the biggest boundary that we can draw is this one, right? So in Tableau, this boundary we call as a table. Okay. And against the table, what is the data point? The data point is 12. If you see in the left hand side below also, there is mentioned as 12 marks. And if you count this one, how many bars are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 marks are there. Okay. Now, the second boundary that we can create based on category, right? So this is one boundary we can create. This is another boundary we can create. And this is the third boundary we can create. So in Tableau, we call this boundary as pane. Okay. Against pane, how many data points are there? Against pane, 4 data points are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And the smallest boundary that we can create is based on a region. Okay. So for central, we have one boundary. For east, we have another, so on and so forth. Okay. So for this one, how many data points are there? Data points is only one, and in Tableau we call them as a cell. Okay. So these are called scope in Tableau. Okay, so if I need to summarize this, then we have table, we have pane, we have cell. Okay, so in Tableau we have three scope. Okay, so coming back to our graph which we created. Now, if we consider the entire graph, we can say here the scope is stable, correct? If we consider per year data, then this is the pane, this is the pane. And if we consider months of each year, then the scope for this one is cell, right? Okay, now drag and drop cells in the level. It is little bit clumsy, right? So if anyone asks you that level minimum and maximum sales data for all the years put together. So what will be our scope? So again, if our requirement is level min and max sales data for all the years put together. So in our case, how many years we are considering or how many years of data we have? We have 4 years of data, right? So the requirement is level minimum and maximum sales data for all the years put together. That means for all the 4 years put together. So what is the scope of the, what is the scope? In this case, we can consider the scope is, scope here is table, right? That means how many data points we need to consider? We need to consider data points of 48, correct? So go to the level, select min and max, okay? And what is the scope? The scope is table. Okay, so we need to consider table. Okay, so what is the minimum sales volume? The minimum sales volume is 4520, that is for the year 2014. And what is the maximum sales volume? Maximum sales volume is on 2017. Okay, now if the query is level min max sales data for every year, correct? So in this case, what will be our scope? In this case, our scope is pane. Okay, and how many data points we are considering here? We are considering 12 data points. Okay, so in this case, again, what you need to do, go to the level, select min and max, and select the scope as a pane. Okay, so in this case, for each year, you are going to see the minimum sales value and the maximum sales value. Okay. So I hope that now the concept of table, pane, and cell is clear for everyone.